Well, hello. Josh Thomas, mortgage broker, coming at you in the middle of this holiday season. And I hope that you are having a wonderful season. And despite the pandemic, hopefully this turned into a great year for you as we wrap it up and go into next. But I wanted to talk about appraisals with you. I know it's not necessarily something that you were already thinking of in all your family discussions probably, but it's important to the mortgage industry. So if you know anybody thinking about refinancing or moving or building or anything like that, this is going to be a really important topic for them to consider. So there's 3 points that I want to consider. So on an appraisal, there's the timing of the appraisal. So a lot of people are just working with their servicers or calling up whoever's paying, making the payments to, or they're going to these big banks and credit unions that they recognize, thinking that things are better. But the larger the entity, the more disconnect there is between the appraiser and the originator. The originator is the one that you're talking to, and the appraiser. And so when you get that, the bigger the disconnect, the longer and longer it takes. In fact, it more exacerbates all three of these problems that I'm going to talk about. And so the timing. So appraisals do not need to take 3 or 4 weeks like they are for a lot of folks. 1.5, 2 weeks tops. A lot of times we're getting them back in a week. Yes, we can even rush them and get faster than that, but this is a year of overwhelming volume. So there are a lot of appraisers that cannot manage faster than a week and a half, 2 weeks tops. But it doesn't need to take 3 or 4 weeks. It really doesn't. In most cases, it just isn't the case. So timing is one really important thing. And if you're involved in a purchase, well, timing can make all of the difference. Number 2, quality of the data. When an appraiser goes out and appraises, do they actually do a good job of coming up with the value, or do they just go off willy-nilly and kind of do whatever? The reason I call this one out, this one's hard because sometimes you never know you have a problem until it's already too late and you have the problem. But there are a lot of inexperienced appraisers. They don't have enough background, and they go into a property, or they're in too big of a hurry and they get a little sloppy. They don't do enough homework, and then they give an appraisal and they either miss the value, or there's repairs that they could have talked to somebody about but they didn't, and they just call them out on the appraisal, thereby adding a week, 2 weeks plus frustration, whatever, in calling certain things out. There's just a lot of little things that occur when there's lack of experience or somebody's moving too dang fast. And number 3 is the quality of the data when it's submitted as a whole. And what I mean, this one's a little complicated. Most people don't recognize it as a thing. But once I get the appraisal back, then we submit it through a system called CU or LCA, where it's actually graded. All the data is graded against all the other appraised data that's out there by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. And it's basically put on a scale and graded. And if it's too low of a grade, the quality of the data is too low, meaning that maybe values artificially low or artificially high. If the data just doesn't match with the rest of the data they have, then the loan can actually get declined because the appraisal is unable to proceed. Now, this one's a silly mistake. If the quality of the data is not good enough, then get a new appraisal. But a lot of lenders don't know how to do that, believe it or not, and it'll just stop dead in their tracks, and the loan's dead. Happens sometimes. We've had a couple this year that if we didn't know what to do next, we would have been dead in our tracks. In fact, we just closed one 4 days ago or 5 days ago that fits that bill exactly. Other things about that is if the property is really unique. I'd say 2 out of 10 of my appraisals, something about that property is unique, and they really need a really experienced appraiser to do it in order to get that quality, both for the values and other things like that, as well as for the CU score. And so what we do is we go ahead and communicate that information both to our homeowner and to the AMC right out of the gate, and then we're very close touching the AMC, like we're talking to them regularly. We're not 3 or 4 departments disconnected, and so that information is communicating much more rapidly, plus we're communicating with the homeowners like I mentioned. And so the information that needs to go back and forth gets there, allowing the appraiser to get the information they need in order to give us a quality appraisal every time faster, and that'll pass the CU and LCA scores. So think twice when you're choosing your lender. Make sure that you get the right lender so that they can handle the appraisal process. It's a big part of the process. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Hope things are going great for you. We will catch you next time.